frigid floating islands with interchangeable tops and lightning flashes that go off at random in the clouds as part of a 3-foot by 6-foot diorama that I'm working on right now for Wyrmwood Gaming. That's this week on Tabletop Witchcraft. Hey there, and welcome back to Tabletop Witchcraft. A few months ago, I met with Bobby from Wyrmwood Gaming to lend them some of my crafts so they could use those to help promote their new modular gaming table. While we were there, we got this crazy idea to make a diorama that would fit inside their largest modular gaming table. It would be a 3-foot by 6-foot diorama of my airship that I built a year ago, flying through a bunch of floating islands, fighting 2 massive dragons, an ice dragon and a fire dragon, while flying over a huge thunderstorm. So why not? I told him I'd make it for him, and that's what the next few videos here on the channel are going to be all about. Now, in order to accomplish this, I reached out to David from Terraintronics. He's going to help me with the electronics part of this video, as well as the next one. These dragons are going to be breathing ice and flames on the ship, so that's going to be really awesome, as well as a really awesome, cool-looking thunderstorm that this whole event is going to take place over. Now, for the dragons, I reached out to the same master of the brush who painted the mast, the dragon mast, for my airship, Sam Lenz. He painted the ice dragon and the fire dragon for the diorama, which you'll see in the next video. Now, once I have the diorama complete, I'm going to pack everything up and drive it down to Massachusetts, where I'm going to deliver it to Bobby over at Wyrmwood Gaming, and they're going to do a bunch of filming there as well, and they're going to make a Worm Life episode out of it, so make sure to like and subscribe this channel and Wyrmwood's as well. Now, if you want to help support my channel, head on over to Into the AM, where you can pick up some really nice graphic tees. TWC10 at checkout gets you 10% off your order, even on top of items that are already on sale, so go grab some swag over there. As well as visiting Firelight Fables Candle Company, TWC10 there as well, gets you 10% off your whole order. Skyship Voyage, how great is that for this whole video series? You'll be seeing a lot of this candle. All right, if you're ready, let's go grab some supplies and let's get crafting. All right, we're gonna rock this video with the Skyship Voyage candle by Firelight Fables Candle Company. Can't think of a better candle than this one to represent my airship battling these 2 massive dragons flying through all of these floating islands. Now, I cut this piece of wood out right here with my X-Tool S1. I use a 40-watt laser, and you'll get to see a little bit more of that later on in the video. But if you're making this, you can also use just some hard cardboard or any other feature that you want for the top that you can put some grid work in if you want. If not, you can skip the grid work and you can jump to the frosted tops that you're going to see in just a minute here in the video. Now, I did add a few magnets to these because I want to have the Wyrmwood logo showing on the top of all of these floating islands. But then for gameplay, you know, you could have it where you're using the grid for moving minis around, but I also wanted to have the frosted tops and snow for all of my photos and stuff of the diorama. So we're going to make a magnetic top that goes on all of these that can easily be removed. Now, this is some really cheap foam. The only thing that I found that this is good for is filler, and it works really well for that. Every material has its place, and for me, that's where this fits in. There was a little piece of dollar store foam core, a black sheet that I put around the top of this that you absolutely do not need to put in there, which is why I didn't show it. I thought I needed a nice smooth transition to the top of the wood, and you really don't need that because we're going to cover it up with some Sculptamold in just a few minutes. Alright, once we get our rough shape, don't worry too much about getting it perfect because we're going to cover it all in bark. We can go and make our topper for this. You can see how it snaps on real nice. And as you saw in the video, I used 2 magnets because we have about 1/8 of an inch thickness of wood that this is going to have to hold on to. Alright, now I just drew up kind of what I wanted the top terrain to look like, rough shape, and just start hacking away at it using an Alpha knife and my Hot Wire Foam Factory hot wire set. Alright, now all of this bark, I've got some off of Etsy in the past, And I actually have a massive pine tree in my backyard that's about to come down in another week or two. So I actually went outside and cut all of this from the pine tree in my backyard. I stuck it in my oven and cooked it for about 2 or 3 hours on a really low heat, like 225. Oh boy. All the food that I cooked in my oven for about 3 weeks after that smelled like pine tree. So I don't know if I recommend doing that. You might want to get like a dehydrator and do it outside. It smelled really good, but you know, you don't want your pizza smelling like a pine tree. All right, now here's where that tool from Hot Wire Foam Factory really came in handy again for the acrylic rod. And then I just went over this entire thing real quick with the lighter. It's gonna get all those little whiffs of hot glue gone. You will definitely see those when time comes to paint this, so make sure they're all removed off of the surface of the mountain. Now, just like I made my mountain top for the airship video about a year ago, we're going to use the same method. That way all of our terrain looks the same and it flows well in the diorama. So this is the same way that I filled in the large cracks of the bark in that video as well. I'll put a link up above to that video if you want to check it out. All right, now we have to come up with some sort of sturdy base so that none of this stuff gets knocked over. And I'm just using a little bit of plywood, a 4x4, and a bunch of screws to hold this in place. And I was really just kind of winging this, and I figured this was, you know, sturdy enough to hold it all together. I almost had a little bit of a catastrophe right there. That was not good. Luckily, I didn't chip too much away of the bark. And I have a little wider bit that I used just so I could have the recessed screw heads in the plywood so it sits flush on the table. Alright, now as I mentioned earlier, this is where we don't really worry about the very edge of the wood that I'm using for the top of the floating island. It's because we're going to put some sculpt mold around the entire perimeter of it. And then once that cures, we're going to use this Game Master primer. Same stuff I used in the mountaintop video as well. Did a zenithal prime. And then this is really fun because the painting on this is really easy. I made a black, a green wash and a brown wash. And I just kind of splash it all over this thing. Really heavy. Once it dries, it looks really, really nice. And then using this paint right here, we can do a nice dry brush over the whole thing. Because it's bark, all those little edges pick up the dry brush really nice. And it looks really good when you're done. Okay, so now for those of you that are curious as to how I made the wood top for the floating islands, I used the X-Tool S1 with the 40-watt laser. In a previous video here on the channel, I reviewed this exact machine with the 20-watt laser. Super impressed with that. The detail was really nice. But I was just curious how the 40-watt would, you know, cut through the wood a lot faster, slower, whatever. It's supposed to go through it faster, which it did. And the quality of this was also excellent. Alright, now a really cool trick is to use some isopropyl alcohol when you're done. Just wiping it down on the wood is going to remove all of the burnt, I guess kind of ash or residue from the wood. Makes it really nice and clean. Then I took the sanding block, lightly sanded down all of the wood. The main reason I did this was because I had some of the sculpt mold that was up around the edges a little too high. Just wanted to have everything look nice and uniform. Now I gotta tell you, this stain right here, I am absolutely in love with this color. It matches the table that I have from Wyrmwood Gaming, their modular gaming table, and it's a dark walnut color, and I'm just absolutely in love with the way the top of this turned out. Now this is an excellent way to make icicles. All I'm using is some UV resin by Let's Resin and some cotton. Mix that up really well, and once you hit this with a UV light, it's going to harden almost instantly, making sure to pull down on it as you initially hit it with the light, because again, it's going to harden very quick. You'll have a nice straight icicle. You can see some smoke forming right there. Make sure you have really good ventilation when you're doing this, but the final result is excellent. Alright, now for all the areas where we're going to have snow buildup on these floating islands, I'm going to use some flex paste and some of this snow. The snow is going to stick really well to this, so glob it on there. And yeah, it's gonna look really nice once we're done. For the stones that I want to use on the top of the floating islands, I want to make those out of plaster. Get some really nice stone sculpts. And I'm using this plaster from Garrico. It is Merlin's Magic. Absolutely awesome stuff. This bag right here. You think I did that on purpose to like save time, but I didn't. Really nice stuff though. The forms really nice. The detail in the casts are excellent. It's extremely hard once it cures. Highly recommend it. Now, as you've seen in, again, one of my previous videos where I've made some trees out of grapevines, I'll put a link up above to that video. We're gonna use that cast mold for our main section of the island on the top, and then we're just gonna fill in with more flex paste and snow around those when we're done. And I wanted a nice smooth transition from the top of the mountain down to the sides, so that's what I'm using the aluminum foil for. And again, we're gonna cover all this, as you can see right here, with some flex paste and paint it up, and it's gonna look really awesome. All right, now to keep all of the little bits of snow that might be resting on top of that flex paste, we're gonna hit it with some isopropyl alcohol and this glue. This is my absolute favorite layering glue. It dries completely clear and it locked everything in place really nice. All right, we're in the home stretch now, and what I'm doing is I'm taking some 1/4 inch chicken wire, stapling it to my base, and I'm gonna form the rough shape of the clouds that I want. Now, keep in mind, this is extremely sharp stuff. You really should be wearing gloves when you're working with it, or you're gonna poke yourself and probably end up bleeding. I did in the video, so again, wear some gloves when you're working with this. And what I did to try and save myself some pain and agony later on after this was done was on all the edges. It really didn't take long. I just put some hot glue on all the sharp edges, and it was really nice. As you can see right here, I did it on the top of this, and it's just a little door for me to get my hand in and out of when I pick the clouds up off the table. Now, very simply, we're gonna take our Sure Bonder hot glue gun. Love this thing. We're gonna use some hot glue to just squirt it right through the chicken wire, right onto the polyfill fiber, and that's gonna hold the clouds on really nice. Once that cures, we can fluff it up, add a whole bunch, rinse and repeat, and then we're ready to paint this up. Now, I tried using some spray paint out of a spray can, and I highly do not recommend that, because what happens is all the little fibers of the polyfill picks up all that paint, and it looks horrendous. It looks like a wiry head of hair. You really need something like an airbrush to add that nice smooth transition. And finally, for some lightning effects, you can go to Terraintronics to check this out. This little unit, David made a whole bunch of these for me for this video and the diorama, where it's gonna flash randomly, adding a really cool lightning effect in all the clouds I'm putting on the table. Check him out on Terraintronics here on YouTube or on his Tindy site online. Alright, now a really cool feature about these floating islands, the way I designed them, is that you can take them off the flight peg, remove the top, and then these can get placed on your table as a mountain for all of your tabletop games. Obviously, you're going to want to do something a little different, or just remove the icicles from those before you do that. Now, the next video on the channel is going to be me unboxing the dragons that Sam Lenz painted. They're in the mail now. I actually haven't even seen them yet. I'm super excited. I'm going to be unboxing those, and I'm also going to be doing the entire layout of the Thunderstorm on this table. If you want to help support the channel, you can hang out with me live at night so that you can watch me build these as I'm kind of crafting along, so you don't have to wait so long between videos. And there's also tiers there where you can join my private Facebook page and see pictures and kind of keep up with what's happening there as well. All right, until next time, I'll see you around. So don't forget, these floating islands can also be used as